All right, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to call this meeting to order in Little Rock Planning Commission here on April 11th, 2024. And we will first start, we get a roll call. Torrance, if you will.
This is the roll call vote for the Little Rock Planning Commission for April the 11th, 2024. Baxter.
Present.
Brown.
Present.
Hart.
Here.
Hodges.
Present.
Lunday.
Here.
McDonald. Commissioner McDonald. Person.
Here.
Samad.
Here.
Vogel.
Here.
Russell. Commissioner Russell. Vickers.
Present.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Moving right along, we now have looked over the minutes. And so if I can get a motion for approval of minutes, please.
Motion to approve the previous meeting's minutes.
And I have a second.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second here for the approval of the minutes. Can I get a roll call vote, please?
Baxter.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Hart.
Yes.
Hodges.
Yes.
Lunday.
Yes.
McDonald. Commissioner McDonald. Person.
Yes.
Samad.
Yes.
Vogel.
Yes.
Russell. Commissioner Russell. Vickers.
Yes.
Minutes are approved.
Okay, thank you. All right, so we have gotten approval of the minutes, and we will move right forward with the consent agenda and the consent agenda reading. Monty, if you will.
Following is a consent agenda for the Little Rock Planning Commission meeting of April 11th, 2024. First are the items that are going to be withdrawn or deferred. Item number 1, file number S1844F, is being withdrawn without prejudice at the request of the applicant. Item 7, S1962, is being deferred to the May 9th, 2024 agenda, as the applicant needs to submit additional information for staff review. Item 8, Z4159C, is being deferred to the May 9th agenda at the request of the applicant. Item 10, Z9968, is being withdrawn without prejudice at the request of the applicant. Item 11, Z9955, is being withdrawn at the request of the applicant. And item 14, Z9956, is being deferred to the May 9th agenda as the applicant failed to notify the surrounding property owners. Next are the items on consent approval. Item 4, Z9941, Bumpus STR2 PDC, 415 North Monroe Street. Staff recommends approval of the PDC zoning request subject to compliance with the comments and conditions noted in paragraph E and the staff analysis of the agenda staff report. Item 5, G25232, street name change from Maryland Avenue and South Taylor Street to Darius Nelson Way, located between Fair Park Boulevard and West 12th Street. Staff recommends approval of the street name change. Item 6, S1961, lots 11A and 11B, Block 24, Centennial Edition replat, 1504 Bishop Street. Staff recommends approval of the requested replat subject to compliance with the comments and conditions outlined in paragraphs D and E and the staff analysis of the agenda staff report. Item 9, Z5491C, Little Legacy Leadership Academy, conditional use permit, 1804 East Capitol Avenue. Staff recommends approval of the requested CUP to allow a daycare center subject to compliance with the comments and conditions outlined in paragraphs D, E, and F and the staff analysis of the agenda staff report. Item 12, Z6806B, Coral Towers LLC, revised POD, 13705 Pleasant Hill Road. Staff recommends approval of the revised POD to allow WCF at the proposed site, subject to compliance with the comments and conditions outlined in paragraphs D, E, and F in the staff analysis of the agenda staff report. Item 13, Z9878A, Plunkett Mixed Use PCD, 14118 Canis Road. Staff recommends approval of the requested PCD zoning, subject to compliance with the comments and conditions outlined in paragraphs D, E, and F and the staff analysis of the agenda staff report. Item 15, Z9964, Sanchez Triplex PDR, 1200 South Taylor Street. Staff recommends approval of the requested PDR zoning, subject to compliance with the comments and conditions outlined in paragraph E and the staff analysis of the agenda staff report. Item 16, Z9951, Goldman STR1 Special Use Permit, 10617 David O'Dodd Road. Staff recommends approval of the requested SUP, subject to compliance with the comments and conditions in paragraph E and the staff analysis of the agenda staff report. Item 17, Z9656A, Midtown Premium Properties Number 1, STR2, PDC, 3501 Kavanaugh Boulevard, Unit Number 1. Staff recommends approval of the PDC zoning request, subject to compliance with the comments and conditions noted in paragraph E and the staff analysis of the agenda staff report. Item 18, Z9656B, Midtown Premium Properties 2, STR2, PDC, 3501 Kavanaugh Boulevard, Unit Number 2. Staff recommends approval of the PDC zoning, subject to compliance with the comments and conditions noted in paragraph E and the staff analysis of the agenda staff report. Item 19 is being moved to regular. Item 22, Z9953, Rose Investments LLC 2, STR2 PDC, 7913 Apache Road. Staff recommends approval of the PDC zoning, subject to compliance with the comments and conditions noted in paragraph E and the staff analysis of the agenda staff report. Item 23, Z9954, Martin 1, STR2 PDC, 7001 Bluebird Drive. Staff recommends approval of the PDC zoning request, subject to compliance with the comments and conditions noted in paragraph E and the staff analysis of the agenda staff report. Item 24 is being moved to regular. Item 25, Z9961, Taylor STR2 PDC, 31 Coolwood Drive. Staff recommends approval of the PDC zoning, subject to compliance with the comments and conditions noted in paragraph E and the staff analysis of the agenda staff report. Item 26, Z9962, King 1 STR2 PDC, 5208 Lee Avenue. Staff recommends approval of the PDC zoning request, subject to compliance with the comments and conditions noted in paragraph E and the staff analysis of the agenda staff report. Item 27, Z9963, Midtown Premium Properties 3, STR2 PDC, 514 Sherman Street, Unit Number 1. Staff recommends approval of the PDC zoning request, subject to compliance with the comments and conditions noted in paragraph E and the staff analysis of the agenda staff report. Item 28, Z9963A, Midtown Premium Properties 4, STR2 PDC, 514 Sherman Street, Unit Number 2. Staff recommends approval of the PDC zoning request, subject to compliance with the comments and conditions noted in paragraph E and the staff analysis of the agenda staff report. Item number 29, Z9963B, Midtown Premium Properties 5, STR2 PDC, 514 Sherman Street, Unit Number 3. Staff recommends approval of the PDC zoning request, subject to compliance with the comments and conditions noted in paragraph E and the staff analysis of the agenda staff report. Item 30, Z9965, King 2, STR2 PDC, 6419 R Street. Staff recommends approval of the PDC zoning request, subject to compliance with the comments and conditions noted in paragraph E and the staff analysis of the agenda staff report. And item 31, Z9966, King 3, STR2 PDC, 319 Rice Street. Staff recommends approval of the PDC zoning request, subject to compliance with the comments and conditions noted in paragraph E and the staff analysis of the agenda staff report. That concludes the consent agenda.
Thank you, Monty. If there are not any comments from the board, I would like to entertain a motion for the approval of consent agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as introduced by staff and with all staff conditions.
Second.
Thank you,
Point of
Vice Chair.
order.
We have a motion and a second, and can we get a roll call?
Point of order. Chairman Vickers, we completed a green card as objection to the withdrawal application for file S1844-F. We were told by the department that we were not allowed to speak unless the applicant was present. We are making a record of that request and our green card submission and our request for the objection. And that is all that we're stating. We are making this record without prejudice to the city's opportunity to respond to the statements that we're making at the podium today.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Chairman Vickers.
Well, let the record stand on that, please. Okay. All right, so we had a motion and a second for the consent agenda. Can we get a roll call vote, please?
Baxter?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Hart?
Yes.
Hodges?
Yes.
Lunday?
Yes.
McDonald?
Yes.
Person?
Yes.
Samad?
Yes.
Vogel?
Yes.
Russell?
Aye.
Vickers?
Yes.
Consent agenda has been approved.
Thank you very much. Before we move to our regular agenda, if your item was on the consent agenda, you're more than welcome to stay, but you can leave at this time. So if your item number was on the consent agenda, you may leave at this time. Before we move on to our regular agenda, we have two updates here about staff, and we have Monty and Brad. I'm going to let Monty go first, and then Brad, you can give your update. Monty, if you will.
I just have a real quick update on short-term rentals. Currently, the Department of Planning and Development, we have 83 approved short-term rentals in our database. As you know, the Board of Directors approved a maximum of 500 that could be approved in the city of Little Rock. So we have 83 currently, and there are 7 pending that will go to the Board of Directors next week.
Thank you. Brad?
Thanks, Mr. Chair. There was a question or request made of staff at the last meeting to give an update about appeals that have been made to the board from the Planning Commission. I went back to April of last year, and so for one calendar year, this is what has been appealed to the board and the outcome. So the first one was 14524 Cantrell. That was Hamilton Station PCD. The Planning Commission voted to deny that application. The Board of Directors on appeal overturned the Planning Commission on that one. 8315 Colonel Glenn Road, which was Sampson Diesel Repair and School. The Planning Commission voted no on that one to deny, and the Board of Directors voted yes to overturn Planning Commission's decision. For the manufactured home at 1701 East 21st Street, Planning Commission voted to deny. The Board of Directors upheld that denial on appeal, so they voted no on that. The rest of these are just STRs. So 12040 Rivercrest Drive, STR. Planning Commission voted to deny. Board of Directors voted to deny the appeal. 13810 Mariana Drive. Planning Commission voted no. Board of Directors also voted no on appeal. 206 North Polk Street, STR. Planning Commission voted no for this one, and Board of Directors also voted no. 1219 Marlin Drive, Planning Commission voted no, and the Board of Directors overturned that decision, and they approved that STR. And there is one that is pending on appeal, that is 4305 North Lookout, and the Planning Commission voted to deny that, and that will be going before the board soon. That's all I have.
Thank you for the update, Monty and Brad. All right, so let's move forward to our regular agenda. We had two items that were brought on to our agenda. That's item number 19 and item 24. We will put them at the bottom, so they will go right after 32 and So 19 and 24 will come after the last item. So let's start with the reading of the first item, number 2, Z-9766-B.
Item number 2, file number Z9766B. This is Moreno STR2 PDC, located at 13,008 West Markham Street. The applicant proposes to rezone this 0.61 acre site located at 13,008 West Markham Street from O3 to PDC to allow use of the property as a short-term rental 2 with a maximum stay of 29 days. The structure will be rented as one unit, and the owner will not reside at the residence. The property consists of a brick and frame residential structure with 4 bedrooms and 4 baths. The concrete driveway provides parking for at least 2 vehicles. Staff is not supportive of the requested rezoning from O3 to PDC. Staff feels the request does not conform to the development pattern in this area, and staff feels that the best use of the property is an O3 permitted use as it is currently zoned. Therefore, staff recommends denial of the PDC zoning request.
All right, and if the applicant is present, please state your name.
Raul Moreno.
All right. Thank you very much, sir. And before we really dive off into the first item, I just want to let everybody know in today's audience that you have 20 minutes for the opposition, and then you have 20 minutes for the applicant. That's total time. So if we have 10 in opposition, and if you break that up, then you have 2 minutes each, just for an example. Or one person can have the full 20 minutes, but you can get up to 20 minutes. So with that said, sir, would you like to go ahead and make your state, or would you like for oppositions? We have several cards in oppositions. They can speak first, and then you can come back and speak. It's your choice.
Yes, I'd like to speak and I could come back.
So you would like for the oppositions to speak, and then you come back?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'm going to ask you to please take a seat for now, and then we're going to bring you right back up after they're finished, okay?
Thank you.
So we have several cards here, and I'm just going to read them in the order that I received them in. The first one here is Melvin Clifford. If you're present, please come to the podium.
Thank you for the opportunity. I pastor the church just across Gamble Road on east of this property. And the church has certain concerns. Number one, the parking. Secondly, a suggestion of an 8-foot concrete wall. Thirdly, the church is concerned with what this particular zoning would permit in the future. There was a time when the sale of alcohol was involved, and I don't believe that would be permitted. So the church has requested the commission to refuse this request. Thank you.
Thank you. The next card we have is Sheriff Baltz.
Hi, I'm Cher Baltz. My husband and I have a law office right beside 13,008. His property is even encroached on our property. His carport overhangs probably at least a foot past the setback line onto our property. He has wanted to put a dumpster, according to the site map, right beside my window on his property, but really close to us. But also during the summer, Mr. Moreno ran a bed and breakfast. I had numerous problems with this. He was, I think, out of state in California. I had people parking on the front lawn of the law office. I had people parking in the parking lot. I had people clipping my security camera all the hours of the night. They seemed inebriated. I have a lot of concern about this. The zoning for this area is O3. It really doesn't fit with our neighborhood. We all get along. The neighbors behind us don't like it either. They have an investment office. So I'm requesting that you deny this. I think it's going to cause a lot of problems, and it already has since he ran it without a permit or without a business license in the past. And he even rented it this weekend after he was cited for doing this. He's done it again. I appreciate this.
Thank you. All right, the next card is Randolph Baltz. If you're present, please come to the podium.
Thank you. I just walked in. We did not get notice. I did not get notice of this. If you'll look at the last 2 or 3 meetings, a proper notice has never been sent out, and we did not receive notice. I did not think this was going to occur today. I'm an attorney. I was dressed for this. I had some phone hearings I had to do, just now got here. But anyhow, I'd like to point out that the last meeting, he is certified. He sent this out by certified mail when he only did it by regular mail, and he is certified it that way. So we never get a proper notice. And like my wife just said, he's been cited for this, and he's had to plead guilty to it, or he pled nolo contendere. He continues to do it. And there are concerns, I think they've already expressed it, that he intends to do other things with it. He initially had intended to have an event center. A lot of that plan still incorporates his event center desires and everything. And this is the 8th time in a year, almost a year, a little over a year, that we have had to prepare for this. He always withdraws his application at the last minute or postpones it or whatever. This is a burden on us. We're very tired of it. We really would appreciate this to be denied and taken care of once and for all. I don't know why he keeps getting to refile new applications all the time. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Our last card here is Dalton Swindle. If you're present, please come to the podium.
Hello, my name is Dalton Swindell, and I represent Randolph and Sherry Baltz in this matter. We have several concerns about the application submitted to rezone the property located at 13008 West Markham Street from O3 to PDC and allow for a short-term rental to operate on the property. We believe that the application itself is insufficient to allow you to grant the request for rezoning and the STR2 permit. Additionally, we and the neighbors have several concerns with the use of the property as a short-term rental too. As such, we object to the granting of this request on the merits of the application. With parking, section 3654E1 sets forth that the owner must provide 1 paved off-street parking space per guest room. There are 5 guest rooms in the house, but it appears there are only 2 paved parking spaces available. The off-street parking at the property is insufficient. If he was to offer on-street parking as a proposed alternative, the parking must be within 330 feet of the short-term rental, and the parking plan must address the neighborhood concerns. To our knowledge, no on-street parking plan has been submitted based on the documents provided by the city or provided to the city. There's concern that if on-street parking is sought, it would have a negative impact on the surrounding businesses' abilities to provide parking for their patrons, in addition to the effect it would have on traffic in the area. Section 36603B6 requires that a detailed site plan be submitted in conjunction with the application for a short-term rental 2. It requires the applicants provide a scaled floor plan that includes all of the rooms available for rent, the location of windows, doors, and smoke detectors. And smoke detectors are required to be in all sleeping areas in every room of the path of the means of egress from the sleeping area to the exit, and in each story with a sleeping unit, including the basement. To our knowledge, it does not appear that the site plan included this information. Section 36603B13 states that no recreational vehicles, buses, trailers shall be visible on the street or on the property in conjunction with the bed and breakfast or short-term rental use. Mr. Moreno has constantly had a food truck on the property or adjacent to the premises on the street with electrical power hooked up to it from the house. It's a great concern of the neighborhood that he's going to operate the mobile canteen or keep it on the property at all times. Section 36451C sets forth that it's the intent of this article to ensure that applications for a planned zoning development are not granted for the sole benefit of the applicant, but are used to establish a development that are 1, compatible with the surrounding area, 2, harmonious with the character of the neighborhood, 3, do not have a negative impact on the future development of the area, 4, permit coordination of the planning of the land surrounding the property, and 5, create a desirable and stable environment. This area that the proposed short-term rental is located in is used as a buffer between commercial properties and residential properties. It's all around this property is O3. We don't believe that the use of the property as a short-term rental too is compatible with the surrounding area. Neighborhood uses include a car dealership, a law office, church, and various medical facilities. This use would not be harmonious with the character of the area, as this would be the only non-office type use. We believe that it would negatively impact the future development of the area, and as the surrounding properties once served as residential properties but were rezoned as O3 and have since been used and developed to conform to such O3 zoning uses. The use of the property as a short-term rental too would not create a stable environment in the area. Many neighbors have expressed these concerns and how it may be disruptive to the area and their businesses. For these reasons, we request that you deny the application. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, can we get the applicant to, I'm sorry, go ahead, Brad.
Yeah, I would like to make a statement about the notices. Mr. Moreno did perfect his notices for this application, and the objectors, they stated they did not receive a notification. We tracked that specific one that was rendered from the abstract list, and a notice was left on March 29th at that property.
Thank you. All right. Thank you, Brad, for that, for the record. Can we get the applicant to come back up to the podium, please? The floor is yours. Feel free to respond to any of the alleges that the opposition put before the board. The floor is yours.
First, in regards to the parking, I believe there's sufficient parking for our guests. We have limitations that we could set for that issue to occur. But if needed, we can come up with a parking plan for a development and apply for a construction permit to do so if needed to meet any requirements. So for parking, those issues, if there's any concerns with that, and they need more detailed information, my the neighbors have my contact information, and they're more than welcome to always contact, and I'm willing to collaborate with anybody that has any concerns regarding the parking. We're not allowing any alcohol use at the premises or promoting, and that will also be stated in our bylaws, and we could go ahead and get that turned in and submitted and make that approved or available for anybody to review. As for our dumpster, dumpster placement, that was from a prior proposal when I made the proposal as to convert the property to a venue. So that dumpster issue is it's a non-issue for this proposal. As for trespassing, that would also be stated in the bylaws of the operation, and anybody that that does not, any guests that fail to comply will be warned, and that if it continues, they will not be allowed to stay for future use. And also, as for a site plan, if a detailed site plan is needed for more detailed parking, that can be submitted. I can submit that if needed. There will also be no parking of any type of trailers or operation of trailers if this plan is approved. And lastly, as for the use of the property, this property Markham Street has always been a residential since it was built. It's the only two-story property in the area, and it's not as easily converted to be able to convert to a business O3 type of business. It's a two-story building, and I have some history on that, and I could provide that to you as well if needed. I have it with photos. So this property has always been a residential property, and that's always been used as for that. And when I purchased the property originally, was for the purpose of using it as a business, as like I mentioned, for a previous proposal as a micro venue, which was not approved. And the idea was for me and my family to come and move into this property because we came in from another state with the idea that we would live on site and complete any applications that were needed to make the conversion for our business proposal. And the time in between that I actually brought my family, it was my mistake to rent out the property as an Airbnb. I was not aware of the ordinance, and I started using the business before I moved my family. Used it as a way just to produce income until the time that my family and I moved in. That's all I have for right now.
All right, thank you. At this particular time, we want to open the floor up for any questions or comments by the commission. Do we have any questions? Commissioner Vogel, go ahead.
So do you live in this property currently or not?
I currently do not live in the property.
And the space is being used currently how?
Currently, it's not being used.
Okay, so
I have it furnished still, but it's not being used currently.
it's just vacant.
As of right now, my daughter goes by in the evenings just to watch over, and that's about it. And she's my eldest daughter.
So if this application is approved, is a food truck going to be on the premises?
No food truck will be on the premises if this is approved.
Commissioner, go ahead.
What's the maximum occupancy that can be in this property for a short-term rental?
Currently, there's 5 bedrooms with 4 of the bedrooms having 2 beds, and 1 bedroom only 1.
5 single beds and 1 bedroom, with 1 bedroom having a double bed?
Yeah, so that's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 beds total. I'm sorry, 9 beds.
I do have one question for you, sir. Were you aware of the current zoning of O3 when you purchased it back in 2022?
I was aware that it was zoned O3, but it also was non-conforming residential. And before making the offer, my wife and I proceeded by calling the zoning department and educating ourselves on the process of having the property rezoned. And from the information that we received from the zoning department, it sounded like it was ideal and favorable for doing so for our original proposal. That's why we moved forward with the closing on the property.
Okay.
This is Commissioner Brown. You said your original proposal Was that different than what you're proposing now?
Yes, sir.
If not, what was the original proposal?
The original proposal was for a micro venue.
Okay, thank you.
All right, do we have any other questions from any of the commissioners?
Sir, have your neighbors complained to you personally, those things that they just brought up?
The only complaint I've received from my neighbor from the law firm was the issue about my wanting to construct a concrete wall for issues that they're concerned of trespassing from the original proposal of the micro venue. And I had several contractors come out so I could get a quote for that. But I believe they misunderstood and thought I was going to move forward with getting the work complete without a permit, which was not correct. And that was the only issue that was ever brought up to me.
So the 6-foot block wall is not going to be built?
No, sir. That was, again, from the original proposal.
Mrs. Baltz, I saw you shaking your head. Could you respond real quickly, please?
I have a security camera. As I told you, his property is encroached on our property. That day that we confronted Mr. Marino, he was talking to a man about tearing out the fence between us. We don't really know who that fence belongs to. These properties were built in 1970 and 1966. And the fence has been there a long time, and it's not even on the line correctly. We've had surveys. His survey agrees with our survey, and it's crooked. He was going to have a guy tear out that fence that afternoon for $600. My husband and I went over and confronted him because and I still have the clip where he was going to do that. And he was going to construct a concrete block wall between us. Not on the east side, the Gamble side. He was going to put it between us. My husband talked to him about that. He claimed he was doing it for our security.
So I have a question, ma'am, and please forgive me, I didn't catch your name.
My name is Cher Baltz.
Yes, ma'am. If I'm facing the house, your law office, correct?
Yeah, we face Markham, and he faces Markham, and he's to the east of us.
So if I'm facing the house, your house is on the right-hand side?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
And if you've ever drove by and you look, his driveway is right on the edge of his property, and the carport comes over onto our property, and it's been that way for many years. So it's a lot of concern to us when we see people inebriated and running around there, and they're on our property. But I don't understand about the concrete block wall because I don't see how that's for our security or really trespass, because there's a fence up now. No one's ever crossed that fence.
So he's stating he's not going to build a wall. What would lead you to believe that he is in fact?
Because on his site plan right now, there's still a concrete block wall drawn in. There's also a food truck parked there. There's also a dumpster sitting at the end of the carport.
All right, thank you, Ms. Balls. Is there any other questions for Ms. Balls while she's here at the podium? If not, thank you.
Thank you.
I have a question for Mr. Marino. My questions are, so if I understood correctly, you have operated the site as kind of a short-term rental before. Could you tell us a little bit about how that went? Did you have any complaints before?
Not to my recollection, no. I haven't had any complaints except for when the code enforcement came and handed me the notice about violating the city code.
And do you know what your neighbors, the Baltzes, are referring to when they talk about inebriated guests on the kind of crossing around the properties?
Well, there's currently There are several openings from my property to their property. And just to clarify her concern again, I was never intending to move forward without their permission and bringing to them an estimate for any work to be completed. So I just wanted to get that cleared up first. And then next was, there's a few openings and there's nothing really solid. It's a bush that really separates the two properties. Besides my driveway that has a little bit of brick and on the backyard end that has a chain link fence.
A quick question for staff. So applicant's affirmations that he's not going to proceed with certain things as proposed, are those binding, or technically would he need to withdraw and resubmit? I guess I'm just concerned if we approve his application as stated, would he technically have the permission to go forward with putting a food truck on the property?
A food truck is not allowed on any residential property by code. For this one, it would have to be spelled out specifically to be allowed, since it's a short-term rental plan development that's going to the board if approved here for approval. So it would have to be a specific condition that it's allowed on there, and that's how we would view it. And since it is not, no food truck would be allowed at that short-term rental if approved.
Thank you.
All right, do we have any other questions for the applicant? If not, staff, I
have a question. Go ahead.
So like, was Commissioner Brown, was that?
Yeah, I have a quick question to staff as a follow-up to that last question. It doesn't say food truck anywhere in the application, but there is information about it says food truck permit on the sketch map. In a case like this is a question to staff, what document controls? Is it the application or the sketch map?
Hold on a second. There is a label on the sketch plat that says proposed food truck permanent, and also the pavilion. It appears that might have been left on there from a previous submission, that it got removed, but those were not described in the plan development. I would ask that the applicant clarify that right now at the podium, just for the commission's clarification.
That is correct. That was a clerical issue. It should have been removed prior to submission.
So with that statement, that clarifies your site plan. There is no food truck to be located on this site.
But we just want to make that for the record. So if there's any complications or come up at a later time, that this is on the record, that this make the remarks and the right remarks for this clerical issue. Staff, for just restating your recommendation for this item, could you please restate that, please, Monty?
Staff is recommending denial.
Thank you. Okay. Are there any other questions from the board? If not, I would love to entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve the application as submitted despite staff's recommendation of denial.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second for item number 2. Can I please get a roll call vote, please?
Sure. Before I take roll, Commissioner Brown, you're not visual. There's no visual.
Yeah, I'm visualize there's a lot going on behind me, so I'm leaving the camera off, but I'm here.
Thank you. McDonald? Commissioner McDonald, how do you vote on this item?
And I just want to say, Torrance, for this, we're voting in the affirmative.
Correct.
So even though the staff has recommended denial, so a yes and a no still stands. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Staff, okay.
Commissioner McDonald, how do you vote on item 2?
I'm trying to think. I'm not for it, so I don't know what to say. I can't remember.
It is, again, all votes have to be in the affirmative, so when we recommend denial, your motion is to either approve or deny the application and accept that condition of denial from us. So a yes vote is yes, and a no vote is no.
Okay, thank you. No.
You are welcome.
Thank you. Person?
Yes.
Samad?
No.
Vogel? Commissioner Vogel?
No.
Russell?
No.
Baxter?
Yes.
Hart?
No.
Hodges?
No.
Lunday? And Vickers?
No.
Motion fails. I'm sorry. Commissioner Brown?
No.
Motion fails.
All right, that was item number 2. And we're going to move right along to item number 3. And thank you, applicant, for coming.
Thank you for your time.
And thank you for everybody for coming out on the item number 2. And we're going to move right along to item number 3. And that is Z-9913. Is the applicant present on item number 3? If so, please stand. Is the applicant present for item number 3, Z-9913? If so, please stand. If the applicant is not present, then we will have to move forward. We will give them, we're checking, so.
Mr. Chair, this item.
Chair, we'll still have to vote on a deferral.
Mr. Chair, this item has been deferred twice already, according to your bylaws. That is all the deferrals an applicant is allowed. So I believe, I'll refer to Jamie.
Is this the second, or are you saying this will be the third?
Then this would be the third if you do another deferral.
Yeah, you can't, the bylaws, and I just had it pulled up, give me a second, on the deferrals. In no case shall more than 2 requests for deferral from an applicant be granted. And when they do this and they don't show up, that counts against their deferrals. So if you look at the bylaws at this time, that the planning commission has to act on it, but it cannot be heard because if they're not here, we can't have a hearing. So they can choose to waive their bylaws for that and allow additional deferral, or they can vote to withdraw.
All right, so if the applicant is not here, obviously they can't make a deferral or withdrawal. So at this time, I would like to make a motion to defer it, or actually have to be withdrawn, right? Can we withdraw without prejudice?
That would be an option.
That would be an
Withdraw without
option.
prejudice.
Okay.
I don't understand. I don't understand. So withdrawal would mean that the applicant is done and cannot come back and have this submission heard.
There are 2 withdrawals. One withdrawal is just a standard withdrawal, which means they cannot come back for a period of 1 year unless the commission authorizes a withdrawal without prejudice. And that's what it is. So you either withdraw standard or withdraw without prejudice, which would allow them to come back. Typically, our withdrawal in these situations have just been the standard withdrawal.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I'd make a motion that we withdraw standard, not permitting the applicant to come back on this for 1 year's time.
All right. Would second that. We have a second, so we have a motion to withdraw standard, and we have a second. Can I get a roll call vote for that, please?
Person?
Yes.
Samad?
Yes.
Vogel?
Yes.
Russell?
Aye.
Baxter?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Hart?
Yes.
Hodges?
Yes.
Lunday?
Yes.
McDonald?
Yes.
I still a blank for Samad. Commissioner Samad, did you vote already?
Yes.
Okay. It's unanimous. It's been withdrawn.
You get Vickers?
Oh, I'm sorry, in Vickers.
Yes. Yes. All right. So if you're here for the item number 399Z-9913, it has been withdrawn. If you're in support or opposition to that, you are free to leave at this time. So we're going to move right forward to item number 20, Z-9948. Is the applicant here for Brotman STR? Is the applicant present? I am. Okay, great. You can just head this way to the podium and we will have the reading.
How do you do? My name is Greg Lane.
Oh, no, hold on. 1 second, sir. We still have to have the reading here for the podium. We just wanted to make sure that you were present. We're just going to have the reading first. You can sit down or you can just stand there if you like.
Oh, hold on.
Thank you. Monty.
Item number 20, file number Z9948. This is the Brotman STR2 PDC located at 221 East 16th Street. The applicant proposes to rezone this 0.16 acre site located at 221 East 16th from R4 to PDC to allow use of the property as a short-term rental 2 with a maximum stay of 29 days. The structure will be rented out as one unit and the owner will not reside at the residence. The STR2 is currently in operation, has been operating since 2023. The property is not currently under enforcement by the City of Little Rock, and as of this date, there have been no police reports associated with this property. The property is occupied by a 1,616 square foot wood frame house with 3 bedrooms and 2 baths. There's a parking pad at the back of the property off Cumberland Street that can accommodate 2 vehicles as well as on-street parking along East 16th. So far, there have been 7 approved and 1 denied STR2 application within a quarter mile of this site. Staff does not support the requested PDC zoning. Staff believes that a commercial zoning at this location would be a violation of the subdivision's bill of assurance, and therefore staff recommends denial of the PDC zoning request.
Thank you, Monty. All right, there are not any opposition cards for today, sir. So please state your name again for the record, and the floor will be yours.
Thank you so much. My name is Greg Lane, and I'm acting on behalf of Amy Brotman, who's the property owner. If there is no opposition to our application, I can tell you whatever you'd like to have if you have any questions for me. I'm a native of Little Rock. My wife is not, but she has fallen in love with Little Rock. And we have been running it as an Airbnb. And to date, I have not heard anything from my neighbors. We've been very good about reaching out to our neighbors and introducing ourselves and making sure that if there's anything they need from us or any problems or anything, please reach out to us and contact us. And we do have some of their cell phone numbers. Other than that, I don't really have anything else to comment on unless there are questions.
How long has this been fully in operation, running as an Airbnb to your knowledge?
Yes, sir. If memory serves correct, we closed June 25th, but it was not functional until really probably September 15th, September 1st or September 15th.
Okay. I want to open the floor up to any of the commissioners. Commissioner Vogel, go ahead.
Yes, sir. I'm a little confused on what your role is with this property. Are you the manager? Are you the investor? I mean, help me understand that.
Sure, none of the above. Amy is my domestic partner.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And due to her work conditions, I've been trying to manage this side of the property, the application and questionnaires and the mailings and everything.
Understand. Thank you.
Any other questions for any of the commissioners here or online?
I have one question for the applicant. So you live here or do you live in Austin?
Yes, ma'am. I reside in Austin, Texas.
Okay, so who is coordinating things at the property when you're gone?
We do it. Amy does that. She manages the property. We have a network of people that help us out with the property. And so it's managed long distance.
Okay, but you have,
Sorry.
oh, I was just gonna say, so you have people here that, that are looking after the property while you're away?
If needed, yes, ma'am. Yeah, I have a pretty good network of friends here that do help us out.
But you don't have a company, a management company on staff for
No, sir.
any emergencies or anything like that?
No, sir.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Commissioner McDonald. Do any other commissioners have any other questions? If not, I will entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve the application as submitted.
I'm sorry. Hold on before we make any motions here. Do we have a card or anything like that? Did I miss? All right.
For maximum due process, Chair, I would recommend that you allow him to speak.
Thank you. Please come to the podium, sir, and please state your name.
I'm Mr. John Norcross. I live at 1517B Cumberland Street, which is catty corner to the property. I received this notice and I have emailed the commission in accordance with the letter I received. I am here opposed to it, not because of the property or the owners. I actually saw their listing on Airbnb. They do a great job with the property. They have gotten great reviews from their customers. My opposition has more to do with the neighborhood, and I think it's already been mentioned, the large number of short-term rentals that are already within a very short distance of where I live. I'm not opposed to Airbnbs at all. I've rented them many times, but I think there gets a point when there can be too much concentration for a neighborhood. Petaway is a fantastic neighborhood. It's an up-and-coming neighborhood. We've got a lot of mixed residences between apartments, houses that are rented, and homeowners. But I think what too many Airbnbs can do is it can hollow out a neighborhood. You know, a good neighborhood is people who live there. It's the eyes and the ears, you know, and it helps keep crime down. It helps keep litter off the street. My next door neighbor, who's a homeowner, he's retired, and he goes out and he picks up the trash. And so having people who live there full time, that they have kids, that they're interested in the neighborhood, in its development, in its safety, is good for a neighborhood. So fundamentally, I'm not opposed to Airbnbs. I think for this particular street, 16th and the surrounding area on Cumberland, I think there's already a large number of them, and my concern is, sorry to say it, we don't need another one, but it's a great property. The people that owned it ahead of time did a great job renovating it, and as from what I can tell, they've done a very good job of maintaining that property. I only believe it should be a owned home with homeowners on the premises, and if we can get more families into the neighborhood, that would be good as well. Thank you very much. I apologize for not having a card, but again, sent the email opposing it, and I appreciate the opportunity to speak today.
Thank you. All right. Commissioner Hodges, go ahead.
Okay.
I don't know which one was first, but we're going.
So the staff has recommended denying this. Did I hear that correctly? Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Butler, go ahead. Did you have a question?
Yeah, it's a quick one. So, sir, did you buy this house, you and your domestic partner, with the intention of making it a short-term rental, or did y'all used to live there?
No, our emphasis on purchasing the property was to turn it into an Airbnb. At the time, my mother was residing here at Forest Place, and so I was coming up quite a bit to see her, and we were spending quite a bit of money on hotels and Airbnbs. So it made some sense for us to have that, so I could come. At the time, she was 95, but the dynamics, that's changed since we've purchased it. We have had, I should say, conversations between us about the possibility of moving into that eventually, yes. We love the property, love the neighborhood, and we love the neighbors. So in the back of our minds, we could see ourselves moving in there eventually.
I do have one
Commissioner
question.
McDonald, go ahead.
Thank you. I have one question for staff. How many Airbnbs are currently in this area, if you have that number?
Our information shows that there have been 7 approved STR applications within a quarter mile of this location.
Okay. Is there anything that the board has said about a maximum per neighborhood, or is this just something that is more of a preference from the staff?
No, I mean, our recommendation is not based on the number within the area. The city board, the only cap put on STRs is the number 500 within the city limits of Little Rock. We were asked to submit that information to the Planning Commission and City Board.
Okay, so it's not being denied because of the number in the area. It's for, let's see, I believe it was stated that it was denied due to the fact of bill of assurance for the subject.
We believe it'd be a violation of the bill of assurance.
And just to clarify, that's recommendation only. The Planning Commission and the Board of Directors can take any bill of assurance into consideration of any rezoning request.
Okay.
I also have a question of the staff. Do we have any idea about what the typical concentration of short-term rentals per neighborhood is?
I don't believe we have like an average or anything. Since we started providing that information, I believe it was at the last agenda within the staff reports. The number 7 is the largest I've seen, and we go out a quarter mile, which is what we decided would be a reasonable distance to go out and look at what others have been approved.
Yeah, I can recall a couple of meetings ago, we approved 3 or 4 within a few blocks. So I'm trying to keep a visual of sort of what we've got going.
Thank you, Commissioner. Go ahead, Commissioner Hodges.
We know there were a number of Airbnbs operating prior to in the ordinance being passed to limit it to 500. Were these 7 prior to that, or have those been approved?
No, the 7 we referenced have been approved since the passage of the new ordinance.
Okay, so, because I remember last month we had one, I believe that the woman said there were 16 around her house, some of which had gone through the approval process and some which had not. So I'm just trying to get the idea of which side of that divide that it is, so.
Also, if I may, and this might be a germane time to bring it up, the ask was made a couple of meetings ago, and I think y'all said y'all would work on it at some point in the future to get a heat map where we could see the concentrations of, short-term rentals in a smaller geographic area.
Okay.
Yeah, and I actually kind of second sort of that kind of concern of like, it'd be great to have a heat map. I'm very curious about the concentration of like owner occupied the STR1s versus STR2s. Just because I think the STR2s are maybe more impactful on the character of the neighborhood.
All right, I guess that was more of just a comment, Commissioner Lundy. So do we have any other direct questions to the applicant or staff?
Quick final question for Mr. Norcross. Sir, I definitely hear your concerns loud and clear. One of the hard things about this job, balancing these different interests. Is your only objection at this point the concentration in the neighborhood of the STRs? Say there were only 2 others instead of 7 others. Would you object to this?
No. I did a very brief survey. Of course, we know that just because a property is listed on Airbnb doesn't mean they necessarily have an approved permit. But just picking a random date out in September, I looked for short-term rentals on Airbnb, and I came up with 6 or 7 within 2 blocks of my house. One is on the corner of 15th and Cumberland. So just quarter mile is kind of a big area, but I can tell you even from the small concentration of 15th to 16th and Scott over to Rock, there are probably 6.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, if there are not any more questions, I would love to entertain a motion for this item, please.
Make a motion to approve the application as submitted despite staff's recommendation for denial.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second for the item. Can I get a roll call vote, please?
Baxter?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Hart?
Yes.
Hodges?
No.
Lundy?
No.
McDonald?
Yes.
Person?
Yes.
Samad?
Yes.
Vogel?
Yes.
Russell?
Aye.
Vickers?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you, applicant, for coming out and for everyone in support and opposition of that action item. And we're going to move right along to item number 21.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. That's Z-9952. Is the applicant present for item number 21, Z-9952, Rose Investments? Okay, great. We're going to do the reading, but you still can make your way to the podium. Monty, if you will.
Item 21, file number Z9952, Rose Investments LLC 1 STR2 PDC, located at 16 Tortoise Park Cove. The applicant proposes to rezone this 0.22 acre property from R2 to PDC to allow use of the property as a short-term rental 2, maximum stay of 29 days. The structure will be rented as 1 unit. The owner will not reside at the residence. The STR2 is currently in operation, has been operating for approximately 9 months. The property is not currently under enforcement by the City of Little Rock. As of this date, there has been 1 police report associated with this property. The property is occupied by a 1,786 square foot brick house with 4 bedrooms and 2 baths. There is a 1-car garage plus enough driveway parking for 2 additional cars. There are no STR1 or STR2 approved applications within a quarter mile of this site. Staff does not support the requested PDC rezoning. Staff believes that a commercial zoning at this location would be a violation of the subdivision bill of assurance, and therefore staff recommends denial of the PDC zoning request.
Thank you, Monty. Applicant, can you please step to the podium and please state your name for the record?
Hi, my name is Ben Saxon.
Okay, all right, Mr. Saxon. I have 1 card in opposition. You can speak now, or you can wait for the opposition and you can come back right afterwards. It's your choice.
I'll wait.
All right. Look like we have one card here in opposition. Eric Bailey. If you're present, please come to the podium.
Mr. Chair, we have a couple of people in the audience who are holding cards up.
Are you all holding the cards up saying you in opposition or support? Opposition? Okay.
So these typically, at one time, if they weren't turned in by a particular time, so Mr. Counsel, would you elaborate, please?
Yes, the reason why I allowed the individual prior to this application to speak is because they submitted an opposition email, and also
we ran out of cards.
They had, I'm sorry?
And the gentleman said we ran out of cards.
Yeah, and we had ran out of cards.
Right.
We are looking at our processes involving green cards because we have just been sued by Mindful Properties because they appeared before the board, didn't fill out a card, they weren't allowed to speak, and so now we're in litigation. So with that in mind, I'm very cognizant of due process. So I don't know what the circumstances of these individuals not submitting their green card before the consent agenda was raised. And I don't want to create a situation where people are just filling out green cards now at any time and then presenting them to the chair. But the earlier application, I think it was pretty clear we had to let them be heard because they had sent an email and we didn't have green cards at the board, at the door.
Mr. Chair, we have green cards. We didn't run out of green cards.
Oh, we did not.
The gentleman didn't, after the meeting was called to order, the gentleman, the door is closed. He didn't get here in time enough to submit a card.
Okay, well, that's different. I did not know that. If I would have known that, we would have had a different circumstances. I want to get council judgment. Should we let them submit these cards, or based upon the rules and policies and laws, should we not?
Based upon our past practices, we should not. But I'm going to leave that up to the chair.
Well, I want to do this just, and I don't want to make this a practice. If they're saying that they didn't submit it, that you all just didn't submit it, or y'all just filled it out? Okay, we're gonna allow this time. I will make this. I'm gonna allow both individuals to. Can you go get the cards from them? We will allow it this time, but moving forward, just for the record, if anybody want to read this or any of the citizens want to review this later online or look at it, we want to make sure we're following our policies and rules. So sorry about that, Mr. Eric Bailey.
Good afternoon.
Go ahead. The floor is yours.
Certainly, I'm not the orator that has been presented here in the past. However, I am a 20-year-plus resident of Tortoise Park Cove, and I strongly oppose the property that's being addressed as being a short-term rental. I think it's actually commercializing the area. This is a street that has been, I think I might have heard in your comment that the police says it only came within the last, certainly I know 22 years, so only one time. Certainly I'm a retired law enforcement officer. And I think I had no idea that it's been operating in the last 9 months. But I think, certainly I know that in the last 3 or 4 months, with the number of folk coming in and out of the street being a cul-de-sac, has not more or less created a problem, but has created a scene that has the potential for a problem. And that's the reason I oppose it.
Thank you. Vicki Adams.
Thank you. I oppose the property as well. I've lived straight across the street. I'm in number 17 for a little over 18 years. A little over 18 years I've lived across the street from this property.
Could you please pull the microphone down so we can hear you, please?
Okay.
Thank you.
I've lived across the street from this property for 18 years. And what I have noticed, we've not had any crime, any kind of anything on the street in all that time. And in the last month or so, the house was broken into, and that's concerning to me because, and I'm sure it was targeted. I mean, none of our houses were. I'm sure it's targeted because they knew it was an Airbnb. And then also, I think there's extra traffic that comes through because of this house, and the speed of some of the people that are staying in the house. They drive a little faster than what we normally do on our cul-de-sac with children. And the parking, there's a lot of vehicles, there's a lot of families, but then there's also a lot of workers that come, and they have big trucks and they're pulling trailers, and they block the mailboxes and the trash cans for trash pickup day. So, I see that as a problem. And as far as, I found out the owner's name when the house was broken into, but to my knowledge, he has never introduced himself to me, never, it's like I knew the house was sold to someone that was doing it as an Airbnb because the previous owner was, on the day of the closing, he was outside with his agent, and I was talking to him because I knew him. He had it as a long-term rental. And I asked him if it was going to be another rental, and the agent said, well, sort of. And so then I knew just as soon as I saw out-of-state tags what kind of rental it was. But I don't think our street needs this. So I oppose.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And John Witherspoon?
Hi, I'm Kevin Witherspoon. I live across the street at number 15 Tortoise Park Cove. I've been a resident for 23 years or so on that street, and like they said, there's never been an incident of crime until just recently. The traffic is a big issue. This house is the top of the street, and it's a long cul-de-sac. Lots of families with children on the lower end of the street. So there's a lot of traffic going up and down the street all the time. The work trucks are a big issue. They are so loud. I hear them on the back side of my house. And those are kind of longer stay tenants, but yes, they block the street, block the mailboxes. And even when it's not workers, the street is also taken with cars. My yard constantly has litter in it from the house. But that's about it. The traffic, the crime, it's just not a good place for it. I'm strongly opposed to this, please.
Thank you.
Yes.
All right, can the applicant please come back up to the podium, please? All right, feel free to ask any particular questions from your oppositions. The floor is yours.
Okay, so just to address the police report that was mentioned, there was an incident, I think it was about 2 months ago, there was a break-in. It may or may not have been targeted because it was a short-term rental. Our personal across the street neighbors were broken into that day. She's a long-term resident, so it could just be a coincidence. Since then, we have beefed up security. We certainly don't want our stuff stolen. We don't want any houses in the neighborhood broken into, and we've taken additional measures to make sure that that doesn't happen again. We host a lot of different types of guests. A lot of people are visiting families in the neighborhood. They have big families, and it's more economically practical for them to rent a whole house as opposed to multiple hotel rooms. People are in town for hospital visits. Some of those guests stay for multiple weeks. And we do have a number, I think this is probably caused by the tornado. We do have a lot of crews who've been staying at our house doing work on electrical lines and cable lines and things like that. We are definitely open to dialogue with our neighbors. We want to be good neighbors. And if we need to implement some additional policies around where people park, what they're allowed to even bring on the street, we're certainly open to that. we're Little Rock residents. We live within a 5-minute drive of this property. We're there at least once a week. We have regular lawn care. We have multiple people keeping an eye on the property on a regular basis. The thing about short-term rental is it's all based on your guest reviews. And if you don't have a good, well-kept property, it's not going to get a good review. So we are meticulous about doing things like keeping the yard clean, cleaning up trash, making sure that everything is in order for the guest. But again, we're open to talking with our neighbors and figuring out what the pain points are for them and implementing some additional policies to make sure that our house is fitting into the neighborhood in a way that everybody can appreciate.
All right, thank you, sir. I want to open the floor at this particular time to any questions from our board. Any particular questions? I'm sorry, please come again. Was that Commissioner Brown?
Yeah, I have a question for the applicant. Who is actively managing the property? Are you managing it? Do you have a manager? What's the process look like?
No, my wife and I manage the property ourselves. We have a cleaning crew that goes over there. We have maintenance people who go over there as needed. But the day-to-day maintenance, that's us. And that's one of the reasons why we have a very regular presence at the property.
Okay, thank you.
All right, any other questions? Commissioner Butler, go ahead.
The first gentleman who spoke against the neighbor, sir, what's your address? Were you to the north or the south? You're at 12, got it. And Mr. Saxon, I mean, you've had 3 out of, I don't know, we'll just say 5 surrounding neighbors speak out against this. I mean, obviously on the Planning Commission, you check certain boxes, but we also got to look out for the general health, safety, and welfare of the community. So any thoughts on that?
Well, I'll also say that, you probably get more opposition people showing up than support people. I've gotten 3 calls since the letters went out. And a lot of the people were just like, what is this? Like, what is this form that I've gotten? And in talking through with other neighbors, they've been very supportive of it. They've said like, oh, okay, yeah, that's great, good luck. So I understand. I live in a neighborhood myself, but I think the point is that like we are running a good, clean operation. We vet our clients meticulously. We don't want our guests to bring any trouble. We've got a perfect guest rating, which, if you deal with the general public, that's a really tough thing to hit. So I think there are probably more people who don't have a problem with this than what we're hearing from today.
Neighbors, do you have any response to what Mr. Saxon just said?
I certainly wasn't informed. I didn't get any type of letter or anything. Like I say, I'm retired, and I went down and saw this big green sign on the door. So naturally, I was curious and what was going on. Everybody that he says that was, I think it would be more folk here in opposition if everyone was notified, and this was an appropriate later time, i.e. 5, 6 o'clock after work.
Hey, Brent, did everybody get notified within the certain radius? Okay, we're checking on that here, Mr. Bailey, just to make sure that a letter was officially sent to your address.
Well,
okay.
for as far, I'm 22 years.
But it might not have been. Remember, the requirement is just 200 feet. Is that right, from a boundary of the property? So that's not a big, those notices don't go far away from the boundary of the subject property sometimes. So you can be in the neighborhood and not get a notice. We've talked about that before, and maybe extending that out to 300 feet. When you do that, there's an additional burden on each and every applicant to send those certified mail. And we even had a calculation of what it would cost to extend that, and we elected not to do it. But I do hear what you're saying. You live on the street just a few houses down, did not get a notice. Probably weren't required to get one, but still, it is, I get it. I get it.
No, that's a great point, Commissioner. Do we have any other particular questions? Oh, Brad, did you have some?
Mr. Chair, I believe it looks like he did satisfy the notification requirements.
Okay, thank you. All right, do we have any other particular questions? If not, I would entertain a motion from this.
I'll make a motion to approve. Was this one recommended for denial as well? I can't remember.
This was recommended for denial by the staff.
Okay. Make a motion to approve the application as submitted despite staff's recommendation for denial.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Can I get a roll call for voting, please?
Hodges?
No.
Lundy?
Yes.
Commissioner Lundy, can you repeat your response, please?
Yes.
McDonald?
No.
Person?
No.
Samad?
No.
Vogel?
No.
Russell?
Aye.
Baxter?
No.
Hart?
Yes.
And who am I missing? Commissioner Brown?
No.
And Vickers?
No.
Motion fails.
Thank you very much, applicants and the supporters and oppositions that came out for this item. And we're going to move right forward to item number 32Z-9683. Is the applicant present for this one? Okay. We're going to have the reading first, but you can make your way to the podium. Monty, if you will.
Mr. Chair, Chris Smith of our engineering division will present this item.
Thank you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, this is the staff rating for item number 32, Z9683, Jennifer Atkins addition, PRD, Boundary Street Improvements, time extension request. Per City Code, Section 31432, the applicant is requesting an extension of time from the Planning Commission on the previously issued and accepted irrevocable letter of credit by the city for the sidewalk improvements per city's master street plan adjacent to R Street, McKinley Street, and Alden Lane for the previously approved plan residential development file number Z9683. The currently zoned PRD Jennifer Atkins addition was approved as file number Z9683 by the Planning Commission on May 12th, 2022, and later by the City Board of Directors on June 21st, 2022, officially rezoned the property to PRD. As part of the conditions approved for the PRD mentioned within the staff report, boundary street improvements were required by the city's master street plan along R Street, McKinley Street, and Alden Lane. Boundary street improvements as required by the city's master street plan were constructed, inspected, and accepted by city staff except for the sidewalk. Developer requested the city staff to issue an irrevocable letter of credit per City Code Section 31-431 as an assurance to complete the required sidewalk improvements in the future. City staff reviewed and accepted the irrevocable letter of credit for assurance for completion of the sidewalk improvements. The irrevocable letter of credit was issued to city staff on May 16th, 2023, with an expiration date of May 31st, 2024. However, the letter of credit stated if the sidewalk improvements totaling 250 square yards were not completed and accepted by the city by February 29th, 2024, the applicant will be in default of its obligations to the city of Little Rock as required application number Z9863. Consequently, the developer filed an application with the city staff requesting an extension of time from the Planning Commission per City Code Section 31-432. A new irrevocable letter of credit was recently issued to the city staff by the developer with a new deadline to complete the sidewalk improvements to cover the city's assurance of completion for the sidewalk improvements until this request is heard and decided upon by the Planning Commission. That includes the reading for file number Z9683.
All right, so we had the special reading for this, and coming from the special item here, was there any comments? Commissioner Haji, did you have any?
Well, I have a question. I know this is a row of new homes that have been built along our street in that section. Have any of those been occupied yet without these sidewalks?
Brian Dale with Joe White and Associates. 2 of the homes are hoping to be completed in the next 2 weeks, and they are hoping that they should and will have the sidewalks completed with those 2. The lots are 35 feet wide, and so the driveways are taking up roughly half of the lot, and so they're trying to pour all the concrete together. When they pour a driveway, they pour a sidewalk, and they will have the sidewalks completed before somebody occupies the home. They had some trouble with some copper being stolen, plumbing and electrical, so they had to go back and do some of that. That's a little bit of the delay, not all of it, but that's one of the reasons for delay. But again, they're trying to pour the driveways and the sidewalks at the same time, so they don't pour a sidewalk and then rip it back out.
I often wonder when I hear the word hope.
All right, any other questions or comments from commissioners? All right, and we don't have any, obviously, positions for this item. Any commissioners online have any particular questions or comments? All right. If not, we can definitely make a motion for the item number 32Z-9683, the Jennifer Atkins additions.
Make a motion to approve as submitted.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and second. Can we get a roll call vote, please?
Vogel,
Yes.
Russell,
Aye.
Baxter,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Hart,
Yes.
Hodges,
I'm voting yes with hope.
Lunday,
Yes.
McDonald,
Yes.
Person,
Yes.
Samad,
Yes.
Vickers.
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, thank you. All right. All the commissioners, are you okay? Everything all right? Can we move forward? Okay, perfect. Well, we only have 2 items left, and we want to move right along to item number 19. And that is Z-9947 in the Paranova LLC. Is the applicant present? Is the applicant present for item number 19?
Zishan Wan, are you here?
I'm sorry?
The applicant met me in my office, so I know who he is. I do not see him
Okay,
in the audience.
Okay, I think we just went out to the hallway just to check to see. If not,
Staff will recommend deferral to the May agenda.
Yeah, all right. We want to be respectful to all the audience and citizens that are here and present. So we will give just a minute. Okay, it says the applicant actually is not present, so we're gonna, I guess we can make a motion for deferral. All right.
Second.
There's been a
Motion to defer the application until the May Planning Commission hearing.
Thank you, Vice Chair.
Second.
We have a second by
Second.
Commissioner Vogel. Can we get a roll call for that, please? Thank you.
Monday,
Yes.
McDonald,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Hodges,
Yes.
Samad,
Yes.
Vogel,
Yes.
Hart,
Yes.
Russell,
Aye.
Person,
Yes.
Vickers.
Yes.
Items been deferred to the May meeting.
All right, thank you. Now for our final item on the agenda for today is item number 24, Z-9958. Is the applicant present for the item number? And that's for the Martin STR. All right, please make your way to the podium while we provide the reading. Monty, if you will. The reading for item number 24.
Item 24, this is file number Z9958. This is the Martin 2 STR2 PDC located at 4816 Kenyon Drive. The applicant proposes to rezone this 0.14 acre property from R2 to PDC to allow use of the property as a short-term rental 2 with a maximum stay of 29 days. The owner will not reside at the residence, and the entire structure will be rented as one unit. This STR2 has been in operation since April of 2022. The property is not currently under enforcement by the City of Little Rock, and there has been one police report at this address since April of 2022. The property is occupied by a 1,408 square foot, one-story, three-bedroom, and two-bath house. The property has a one-car garage and enough driveway space for one additional vehicle. Staff is in support of the requested PDC zoning. Staff believes the request is reasonable and that the proposed STR2 is appropriate for this location. There is currently one pending STR2 application within a quarter mile of this site. Staff recommends approval of the PDC rezoning request subject to compliance with the comments and conditions noted in paragraph E and the staff analysis of the agenda staff report.
Thank you, Monty. Applicant, can you please state your name for the record?
Yes, I'm the owner, Michael Martin.
All right, Mr. Martin, we have one card in opposition. Would you like to go ahead and have the floor, or would you like to have the opposition card come up and then you come up thereafter for any rebuttals or response?
I'll let the card have the floor.
Thank you. All right, we have one card in opposition. Lisa Lee, if you're present, please come to the podium.
Hello, I'm here on behalf of myself, that's a neighbor, and then my neighbors over here. We as neighbors are against the short-term rental of the non-owner occupied residence at 4816 Kenyon. There are 5 key complaints we have experienced since the house became a short-term rental. Number 1, parking. There are many instances of the short-term rental occupants parking behind neighbors' drives, in the alley, and on the street, blocking access to owner residents. The management company has also blocked the alley on numerous occasions, and when asked to move, rudely refused and suggested we call the police if it was an issue. This is not only a problem with access, but also a safety issue. Number 2, there's parties. We disagree with the unoccupied owner's assessment of no parties. We have observed several graduations, baby and bridal showers because there were decorations outside the home, multiple cars parked outside, and numerous people entering the home, again causing parking issues and disruptions to the neighborhood. Number 3, safety. The doorbell alarm mentioned in the owner's statement is not always on. During recent burglaries in the neighborhood, the police making reports were unable to obtain any footage as it was turned off. Along with safety, we as neighbors do not know individuals week to week or even day to day. To date, we have never had any contact from the owner. We would like to be able to know who is living next door or across the street from us. There is always the uncertainty of who is coming or going. Number 4, overinflated value. This home sold 10% over the asking price. This not only overinflates property taxes, it continues to deteriorate the neighborhood due to loss of families moving in and individuals being able to afford a home in this neighborhood. Number 5, loss of neighborhood. If we had the opportunity to vote against this from the beginning, we would have. Even the seller did not realize they were selling to a business and not an individual that would add to the neighborhood. We bought homes so that we could be a part of a neighborhood, not a hotel. We have a map that shows the different short-term rentals. And I think within this mile, there's 20. And this is where the proposed site is. And we got this from the planning office. So also, we are in agreement with the Hillcrest Residential Association Board. On November 13th, 2023, the HRA Board requested to deny that the proposal to change non-owner occupied rental property be rezoned commercial. We are opposed to this change as well.
Thank you very much. Would the applicant please come back to the podium? Feel free to address any of the opposition concerns, and the floor is yours.
Absolutely. Thank you, everyone, for being here, and thank you all for your concerns. I grew up in the area. I have family in the area. I am on the property about every 6 months. I am not operating the property because I know that those skills are better handled by Sarah King with Little Rock Furnished Properties. Any concerns that are brought up are of utmost concern to me, and I don't want this property to be a burden on the neighborhood. I want it to be the best STR in the city of Little Rock with neighbors who want it there. In the initial letter that went out, obviously they received the letter or they wouldn't be here. My cell phone number was on there. I welcome comments. I have not received one comment. I have not received one complaint personally. I know Sarah has received some commentary, but I just want to start with our concern is we operate a very high quality short-term rental. The letter that we produced and went out to all of the neighbors started with, we want to introduce ourselves as the owner of 4816 Kenyon. Since 2022, we have rented this home and want to make sure it is one of your best neighbors. And I do mean that. That's not hope. I know that was a concern earlier. That is what our mission is. Our objective is to provide a high quality property that attracts excellent tenants that make excellent neighbors. And yes, they are short-term neighbors. The typical profile of who we've had in there are people that are seeking medical care and are not typical weekend short-term profiles, along with many other reasons people are in town for a period of less than 30 days. Also in the letter, we find we have much higher quality tenants and ability to control the tenants in the short-term rental format. My wife and I do own other rental properties that are long-term as well as short-term, and our short-term rentals we find we're able to care for them better and also enforce rules on them. And if there are problems, it's not hard to get those handled. Beyond the fact the property has 59 reviews with a 4.8 star rating on Airbnb, we don't have any reviews that are of a 3 or 2 or 1 star rating. All ratings on the property from tenants are 5 and 4 star ratings. We have control and we have leverage on the tenants because they also get ratings, and the tenants do not want bad ratings. Addressing some of the specific questions, the parking, the unit does have a carport for one space, a garage space that if it needed, we can open it up, 2 spaces in front, as well as in the neighborhood, there is parking available. If there's tenant or neighbors' driveways being blocked, I don't feel that's acceptable at any time ever, as well as the alleyway. I am aware that there have been some complaints. I'm not aware of any recent complaints for blocking the alleyway. The statement that there's no contact from the owner, there has been availability of the property manager all along, and we have opened ourselves up in this process to we are available for comment, and I welcome any of the tenants, or not tenants, neighbors to contact me at any point. Happy to meet them on the property and address any concerns. It is one of 2 within a quarter mile, which is the radius the city is looking at. And In the past, the actual prior owner has rented the property, according to my property manager. And I'll let Sarah with Little Rock Furnished Property address other concerns, but we have picked Sarah specifically because she does have deep, deep experience renting short-term rentals in our proximity and is within a 10-minute drive of the property to address concerns as they come up.
Hello. Yes, as Mike said, I do live in the neighborhood. I'm very close by. I'm on site, every single turnover. So whether that's 3 days or, whatever the length of stay may be, I am on the property very, very frequently. And as stated, the previous seller has rented property from us for short-term rental use and also referred clients to us. So I'm not sure that that's a fair assessment to say that the previous seller wasn't aware of the purpose of the property. Regarding blocking of the alleyway, it is a really, narrow alley that's shared by several homes. I know, personally when I drive through that alleyway, just in working on the home and getting around, sometimes there's other cars coming through there. And I think that would happen to anybody, whether they were a permanent resident there or whether it was a short-term rental. I think it's just a narrow alley that a lot of people share. I have not ever been made aware of any parked cars blocking a driveway or anything in the alley. There is a garage there that we have lawn equipment and such things in that sometimes we need to use, and occasionally I know that while we're getting things out of the garage, as many of us would do, we have things in our garage, we've had to kind of hurry up and get things out of there so we're not blocking the alley super long while somebody's coming through. But I think that's, again, kind of the nature of sharing an alley with other people. Regarding the Ring camera, I am not aware of being contacted by the police. The Ring camera is always on. There is a length of time that recordings are stored. So, that potentially could have been what was going on there, but I haven't been contacted by police asking for a Ring camera footage. So I think that's all I really have to say in regards to that, other than, as Mike said, I think our reviews speak for themselves. They've been really positive. I've had multiple positive interactions with other neighbors in that, in the area. So, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Martin, can you please step back to the podium? One of the oppositions, or I think Ms. Lisa Lee, stated that there were parties going on and, speaking of the parking in the alley and things like that, but you said you vet each and every one of your tenants that come in or Airbnb rental clientele. Is there any way you can speak to that?
Yeah, I do not vet the clientele. My property manager, Sarah King, and her company, Little Rock Furnished Rentals, is in charge of the vetting. If we're made aware of a party, events, parties, et cetera, are not allowed on the Airbnb platform, then we can make a complaint to Airbnb, and that person has penalties against them and potentially inability to rent in the future. Sarah, are you aware of any parties that have been on the property?
I'm not. Do you want me to speak?
Sure.
On your Airbnb, once somebody goes in there and click on it, does it state that, in your description? And does it state that so that they can see that if they are renting that, this is not a quote unquote party Airbnb, or this is restricted?
Absolutely. So across any property that I manage, we don't allow any parties, any events. We monitor the number of people coming into the home actively. That's why there are Ring cameras at every single entrance to the home. And if we see more people, so if you've got 6 people on a reservation, person number 7 walks in the door, we're making phone calls. I don't want to clean up after a party any more than anybody else. I absolutely understand that that's a nuisance, and we will not tolerate that. So, like I said, 6 people are on a reservation, person 7 walks in, we're making phone calls. We will absolutely ask people to leave. So no, we don't allow that. I also wanted to make, excuse me, the comment that Airbnb terms of service, which we're bound by, or I'm bound by as a host on that platform, does not allow parties or events. And that's as of, I believe, the past year. But Airbnb doesn't allow that. We don't allow it. We absolutely do not tolerate that. And we are actively monitoring for those situations.
Thank you. I want to open the floor up to any commissioners that have any particular questions, comments, or address any concerns.
Yes.
Commissioner Hodges, go ahead.
The property manager, so you're monitoring 24 hours a day. How do you do that? I mean, is there someone literally looking at it 24 hours a day?
Well, our Ring cameras, so there's multiple people that, work for our company, of course, and our Ring cameras are motion activated, so they send notifications to whoever's on call. So if we get a notification to a device for whoever's on call that, hey, the Ring camera's going off at 2 in the morning or whatever. We also have quiet hours on our listing. So from 10 p.m. to 8 a.m., those are quiet hours. So yes, if we're getting notifications of activity on those Ring cameras late at night, absolutely, we're looking at Ring cameras going, okay, what's going on? Like, is somebody just walking out to their car, or do we have activity going on? So absolutely, yes, these are monitored.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions from any commissioners?
May I make one more comment?
Go ahead, Mr. Martin.
If we have any type of problems and we can pattern it and figure out how to solve it, we absolutely will. And I think we're going to do this more actively than, or as actively as the best of the short-term rental operators. We want to be an asset to, the overall community. And I would hope that the commissioners can see our dedication that, yes, we are serious about handling problems, addressing problems, and making them never happen again when, possible. The alternative being a term rental, we just have far less control when we have term renters in. Landlord-tenant laws are more restrictive than short-term rental laws.
Thank you, Mr. Martin. Now, Miss Lisa Lee, I see back there, and I believe, are there any other oppositions that's here that did not fill out a card? If you live in the neighborhood, raise your hand, please. I just want to see. Okay. All right. Thank you. Now, Mr. Martin, did you get a chance to speak to your neighbors pretty much, maybe directly, or talk with them, or go to any HOA type meetings or anything like that, or any neighborhood meetings or community meetings, and speak to them on this if there was some type of a large amount of opposition on this or anything?
I'm not aware of any neighborhood meetings. I have not addressed the neighbors. We have not received complaints. Here again, our letter had my phone number on it. Certainly welcome phone calls at any time. And I have not received calls from any of the neighbors.
All right. Thank you. Go ahead, Commissioner McDonald. The floor is yours.
Thank you. I have a question for the applicant. During the reading, it was noted that there was one police report at this address since the time you've owned it. What was that due to?
I'm going to defer that to Sarah. I'm not sure if she's aware of that police report or not, because we were discussing that just before the meeting when we saw that notation.
I am also not aware of a police report. The only thing that I've heard from guests is there was like a loose dog in a neighborhood and someone had been bitten. I know that someone had reached out to us about that issue. And I know that Lisa made reference to some break-ins in the neighborhood. So the property at Kenyon was not part of that break-in. So I am not sure.
Okay. It was just also mentioned by the lady in opposition that someone was told to call the police about a parking issue. So I was wondering if that was the cause of this police report that was stated in the reading.
All right, Monty, go ahead.
The one police report was on November 14th of last year. It involved an auto breaking and entering complaint. And there's not a whole lot of information. It could be cars that were parked on the street in front of this location, but it's not something that involved people who were, or caused by people who were staying at this location.
Okay.
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead, Commissioner Butler.
I see,
Baxter, sorry, I'm sorry.
I see the good people from Lookout, and I know that 4305 North Lookout is on appeal to the board, so it's nice to see you committed folks here again. Mr. Martin, just kind of guiding my own decisions. You said that you're from Little Rock, right?
I grew up in North Little Rock, if we want to be precise.
So from the region, and I see 4816 looking at Google Maps, which is usually what I'm doing when I'm listening to y'all cross-checking. The neighbor to your north, looks like there's a fairly large house running west-east. There's a neighbor to your west. There's a neighbor across the street to the east. And then there looks like there's a little green space to the south. Your immediate neighbors, are any of them here, or have any of them? Okay. But y'all are all out on Lookout though, correct? Okay. Thank you.
If I may remind the commission, whenever anybody's speaking out there in the audience, the mics are not picking them up and it cannot be put on record. So if you want to hear them and bring them up individually and answer those questions to make it of record, I would suggest that you do so, but that answering in mass back in the audience will not be picked up on record.
Well, since we don't have cards, and I want to make sure we stay in accordance, we can have one representative come up. That can be Miss Lisa Lee, or if somebody else want to come up, Miss Lee, you can have somebody else, or you can come up.
So the neighbors that are here supporting not allowing this is all around surrounding this house. I know Mr. Martin has stated that we could call him at any time, but if I'm the one that's being asked to call the cops when I ask them to move, it's not, in this climate, I don't think that that's really, I want to do that. So I've just stayed low. I don't bring up anything. I don't want to have a problem with my neighbors. I like all my other neighbors, but it's uncomfortable.
And by you saying uncomfortable, are you meaning, for the example, like saying the car is in the way, you can't get out, your car is blocked, and you have to call the police?
Yeah, that whenever we're asking them to leave or move out the way, and we're just going to be here 10 minutes. We only do this a couple times. It's always some kind of unpleasant remarks.
Okay. Was your particular car or one of your neighbor's cars actually blocked for a significant amount of time, i.e. over 10 minutes?
One time, I'm not counting, but I know that even her car, when she's there, she's over where I have to go into my neighbor's flower bed to get around to go into my, the alley to my house. And then also the renters, the short-term rental people also kind of go over their parking pad. So it makes it difficult for us to get into our driveway.
Okay. All right, Commissioners, any other questions from the representative of the neighbors?
Yeah, Ms. Lee, do you oppose, if this were a long-term rental, so they found someone for more than 29 days or 6 months or a year?
A year? No, I don't. I wouldn't oppose it. I don't know what my neighbors feel, but if it's long-term, no, it's a little bit easier.
So it's the short-term aspect, the folks coming in and out?
Yes. And with a lot of crime that's in that area, it doesn't feel safe.
So, Ms. Lee, besides the parking, if the parking was kind of recommended or agreed upon today with you and majority of your neighbors there, would y'all have feel a little bit more comfortable about the situation?
No, because it covers, several other things of safety in our neighborhood. We live there, we've invested in there. We want our value to stay not overinflated, to be real values.
Okay. Commissioner Baxter, did you have any other questions?
Last question. Thankfully, this is the last issue. Look at me asking all these questions.
Thank you, Ms. Lee.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Martin? And Ms. King, for either of you, probably Mr. Martin, for you, when you bought this property, did you buy it with the intention of it being an STR back in 2022? I think that was before this ordinance had been passed.
Yes, we did buy it with the intention, and we never have tried to hide that fact.
And you haven't received any complaints until this most recent serving notice on the folks within 200 feet?
Today is the first opposition that I've heard to our STR.
For the past year and a half or so since it's been an STR?
Entire time of ownership, and the entire time of ownership, it has been a short-term rental. Our address has been public record all along. My phone number has not, because I have deferred to professional property management, who I know has interacted with some of the neighbors. If parking and access, if that alley access gets blocked, call me. And if you don't want to, have yourself represented, then I won't say who said it, but I am happy to make sure that that does not occur. If it's not comfortable for people to address any person who's blocking it now, I don't see how it will be comfortable for them to block the 30-plus day month-to-month tenants that we will put in there next, or that will be in there. So the parking issue is one that a long-term tenant can pull off a party in the properties just as easily as a short-term tenant can. So I don't see these problems going away if we convert it to, a 30-day minimum type rental property, which would be our next course of action should our short-term rental permit be declined.
Okay. Ms. Lee, did you have something to add?
Yes. As far as the statement of that we could contact them, we didn't know until we got the letter of who was living there or who owned it. So none of us knew. So I just want to make sure it was never told to any of us. So this is the first time we've heard it.
Well, I think we answered quite a few questions. Do we have any other questions from any of the commissioners? And I just want to state this for the record. It appears to be, Mr. Martin, that everyone doesn't have your contact information, and I don't know if this is going to get approved or not, but if it does get approved before you leave, can you make sure that you, at least each and every one of these neighbors here, can they please get your contact information? Because from what I hear, your course of action, if parking becomes an issue or if it's blocked, you're ready and able to resolve that issue immediately. Is that correct of what I'm hearing?
Yeah, absolutely. That is correct. I want these neighbors to look at me as a value to their community. And if what they're seeing is not, then we need to figure that out. The parking situation, to me, feels like it can easily be resolved. If we need to, we'll pour another pad in the backyard where there is, and that has alley access, more room. I think one thing with it overhanging potentially, maybe we put some, planters or something like that, because I think what I'm hearing is there is some parking kind of on the corner of the property and the alley that cars may overhang at times, and potentially reworking that landscaping essentially would resolve that issue. Also, just want to address the value thing. I don't know that that's of relevance or not, but when we purchased the property, it was purchased under Zillow's suggested value. So I don't think we inflated it by buying it as a short-term rental. Yes, it was above listing price. However, many properties in that time period were going for more than listing price. We lost out on a few properties that we tried to buy at listing price.
Yeah, and I was looking for more of immediate resolvement, i.e. Ms. Lee made a statement she could not get out of her house. She had to actually go around the flower pot or what have you. I mean, if they're there parking for, I don't know, hours at a time, I mean, immediate addresses like a tow truck will be coming in. That can be put into your description if that's a problem.
Oh,
that's what I mean.
Yeah, but and I think it's, there are drop-offs in the alley that happen, and we'll do everything we can to resolve that. I think that's been service providers more than actual tenants. The neighbors can speak to that issue. Regardless of whether or not we are approved for this permit, I want all the neighbors to have my phone number, because if something's happening on the property they don't like, I probably don't like it either. activity that's not positive on my property is going to impact me personally in the long term. More repair costs, more maintenance costs. So I want to know when there's issues. And if they need to use one person to be their voice because they don't want to be confrontational, certainly let's figure out how we can resolve this so that everyone is comfortable. I don't want them being uncomfortable complaining to me. And going back to the comments about the phone number, my personal phone number has been available to them for 30 days on that letter. I've received no calls.
All right, and when I say you, Mr. Martin, by you, I mean you and or any of your staff, any of your employees, or any other outside third-party management company that you utilize, okay?
Yes.
All right. Do we have any other questions from any other commissioner? If not, I would love to entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve as submitted.
All right, we have a motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Can we please get a roll call?
Commissioner Hart,
Yes.
Baxter, I'll come back to you, Commissioner.
Come back to me, thank you.
Hodges,
No.
Lunday,
Yes.
Person,
Yes.
Samad,
Yes.
McDonald,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Russell. Commissioner Russell, you inaudible. Can you please repeat?
Aye. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. I got a aye or yes. Vogel,
No.
Baxter,
No.
Vickers.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Motion passes for item number 24, Z-9958. Thank you, applicant. Thank you for the supporters and oppositions for coming out this evening. At this particular time, do we have any other business?
Yeah,
at hand?
Chairman Vickers, can I mention something right quick? And I'll be brief. This is yet another meeting, a planning commission meeting that has been virtually completely hijacked by the short-term rentals. I mean, this one with 90% of our content was short-term rentals. So as a planning commission, we're not talking about the growth of the community. We're not talking about smart planning. We're not talking about anything that really economically benefits our city. We're just talking about a car blocking an alley or crime, increased houses that are already there. So I've been trying to find a pattern in all this since I've been on the commission. We had 15 SR2s, 14 SR2s and one SR1 on the consent agenda. I don't know why those were on the consent agenda. We had 6 on the regular agenda, some with staff recommendation to approve, some with staff recommendation to deny. Me personally, there seems to be no rhyme or reason to how I'm approaching this. I think I'm falling back on how responsible does the renting party seem, but I'm not 100% certain of that. Tonight, we had a couple of recommendations from staff, I think, that said, well, these will violate the bill of assurance. It seems like at our last meeting, we were ignoring the bill of assurance and saying, well, that we can't vote based on the bill of assurance. So I'm just not, short-term rentals, I think are, guys, we're not even 20% of the way to our 500. I told a friend today that if I had known that my stint on the Planning Commission were just going to be talking about short-term rentals, I probably would not have applied for the position. And I can't imagine anyone watching this meeting wanting to apply for this position and just talk about short-term rentals, the same thing over and over and over again. What I'm getting to is I wonder if this commission would just think about over the next 30 days, and we can talk about this in May, I would like to write a letter to the board, to the city board, suggesting that the ordinance be amended so that instead of 500 of these things, we can amend that number to 200 or 250 or something so that we see an end to this. Because right now, we're the next however many meetings, what are we getting, 20 a meeting? The next couple years, we are a body that just talks about short-term rentals. And anyway, I just wanted to throw that out there, and maybe other people aren't as frustrated as I am on the commission about this, but it seems like these things have just completely hijacked the business of the planning commission, and there's nothing we can do about it. So anyway, just I'm venting.
Todd, I feel your stress about the whole thing. And I know we have a meeting, has it been confirmed for April 25th? The retreat?
We have an invite out.
Yeah, invite out. So, I mean, maybe that's something we can talk about, maybe within the law that we can do, maybe a different type of process. You know what I mean? Versus our regular, item, procedure and process with this. Monty, you had a statement or?
Well, we and I don't know if this is going to be the trend or not, but we have seen a slowdown in short-term rental applications. You have one deferred from tonight to May. We have no new short-term rental applications for May. That's going to be the only one on the May agenda. We've got 2 or 3 that have been submitted so far for June, but we are seeing a slowdown. I don't know whether that's going to, keep up or not, but.
Yeah, and I think, Todd made a great point. I want to, if we can look into this, is there a way, Brad, that we can do a different type of process for this versus we're hearing each one of them items and we're not really getting to the core of what the planning commission actually does. Now, I know that STRs are a new type of phenomenon in cities around the country, not just Little Rock, but there has to be a different method or process that we can probably utilize that will, expedite this, that can expedite the best practices, and be a little bit more efficient.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair. As a staff, we will definitely take a look at that, but I think you made a really good point that during our retreat, that this will be an item that we'll certainly talk about, and we can flesh everything out and come to some sort of agreement, because I think our staff shares some of your frustrations.
No doubt, and I forgot to mention, this has to be consuming a tremendous amount of valuable staff time. And again, the city's not growing or benefiting any from this. This is just the minutia of this 500 limit. So anyway,
and then you made a point.
Talk about it at the retreat.
You made a point about one item was about for the bill of insurance, and another item next week it wasn't. I mean, one thing I would like to see if we came up with a checkpoint list. You had a checkpoint list that meets, these criteria.
I've already started
XYZ. So now if somebody, that want to do an STR, they can say, okay, I know I need to have, if I don't have this, and this checked off, then I can't even come before the board or XYZ. If I haven't met with the neighborhood association, or I haven't, checked off this list, or went and talked to X amount of percentile within this radius, with their written approval or what have you, just a checklist that we can go by that will not only make the applicant's, outcome a little bit more, applicable or feasible, but also the staff and as well as the commission. So that's something I think we can definitely look at, and I think it could be a smoother process. Good point, Todd.
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Hodges, and I think Commissioner McDonald, I don't know which one was first.
Yes.
I think.
Go ahead, Ms. Lundy.
Thanks. I wanted to sort of pipe up because I'm not sure I'll be able to make the April 25th meeting, but I would support kind of maybe a letter to the board asking for some kind of amendment. I don't know if it would be like if we necessarily need fewer, like a lower cap, but I think short-term rentals in other cities that I've seen, like they can be a boon for an area. They can also have negative impacts on areas and impact the affordability of communities. And so to me, I think it would be really worthwhile getting some kind of strategic plan around sort of how the city sees short-term rentals working into our overall kind of community, or seeking better criteria from the board of directors for what we should consider, because I do think it's a little bit of like case by case, wanting to try to, toe the line between, what's a good neighbor, particularly when one doesn't occupy the space, and sort of how does this shape the character of the neighborhood, and if we don't live in these particular communities ourselves, we get like a little snippet of to see that, and so I would really support some kind of proposal to get some greater clarity from the board of directors.
Thank you. Commissioner Hodges, go ahead.
Well, I agree with a lot of what's been said, but on the other hand, unless staff can tell me differently, we really haven't had anything, or had a lot of anything else coming before us but this. I mean, we haven't had PDRs. We haven't had all of these other things really stacking up on us.
Well, the number of applications that we've been getting that are not STR applications is pretty average. I believe there were, I'm not sure exactly how many on this agenda. The May agenda, we've got like 21 applications, and they're all something other than STRs. But the applications that we've been getting that are not STRs has been pretty average.
Okay, it's just we've been overtaken by the STRs, so.
I just have one comment and I'm done. And this is basically with the heat map, just going off of what Commissioner Vogel said, that would help out a lot, because today we had someone that was saying there's too many in the area. Well, we don't know where they are. And then as we get closer to this 500 number, I mean, how many are we going to say what number is too many? Because if we're at 83 and we have to get to 500, and, we have certain areas that people want to be in as opposed to others, is what I just don't really understand, that aspect of it. How many are going to be allowed in certain areas? And 500 does seem like a lot for the whole city, but if they're all in certain areas, how many is too many?
When's density reached? I'm just going to throw in one comment. Commissioner McDonald, fully agree, and Commissioner Lunde, unfortunately, going to be out of town, so I also won't be for our retreat, unfortunately. If I weren't in Knoxville, Tennessee, you bet I'd be there. Just looking at our duties to promote public interest and understanding of long-range coordinated municipal planning and land use. And I think about the city plan I know that Director Collins is working on, so I definitely am going to talk offline with you, but I would like, if not a formal briefing, it'd be nice to know a little bit more about that and how we as planning commissioners can get more involved.
No, I think that's a good one. I think this is something we can definitely all think about over the following weeks to come and really get some ideas, write them down, take notes. Even if you need to email me, I think, feel free to email me from anybody on the commission. But I'm excited about it. We always love to see our city directors and always full support here. I know they work hard every day and diligently for the improvement and the betterment of the city. So with that being said, do we have any other comments that need to be addressed, concerns, issues? If not, ladies and gentlemen, thank you. Director Warwick, please step to the podium and bless us with your presence.
Thank you so much. I try not to monopolize your time too often, but talking about short-term rentals, I know it feels like it's a process, and maybe you don't have all the answers, Maybe you don't know what it's going to look like once we get to whatever number we're looking at. But when we studied the short-term plan for a long time, we knew that we had a lot of them coming in. We were having a lot of complaints from neighbors. And there were several iterations of it, and we settled on the one that we have. When we were looking at it, we thought we had a lot of short-term rentals that were already out there, so we had to do enforcement. And so I think that number probably was derived from potential new ones plus the enforcement that we already had. I was in Perryville for the eclipse this weekend, and I'm supposed to have 4 minutes as opposed to 2 minutes to look at it, so that's why I went to Perryville. But a couple came from Minnesota, and they were looking for a spot to watch the eclipse. Well, guess what? They had rented a location in Little Rock to spend a whole week, to spend time in Little Rock, to see the eclipse. They went to restaurants, they went to events in the city. And and they were talking about what a wonderful experience it was and how everybody just reached out to them and were so friendly. So that's the kind of story that you like to hear about short-term rentals. And I told them, I said, you don't know how much I appreciate the information that you're giving me about short-term rentals, because in my job, mainly I hear about the bad things. I don't hear about the good things. But I would caution you when you're looking at coming up with a plan or trying to revamp, understand that this is infill development in our city where we're changing zoning. We have existing people that live in that area. So there is going to be some angst when you go from a residential structure to commercial. And that's what really this is. It's a business. It's a commercial business. And so you're going to get people that are not going to be comfortable with it. But you're doing a good job by asking the questions that you ask. Mr. Bogle asked some questions about the last one and wanted to know if the neighbors that were surrounding were here. Perfect question. And as you saw...
That was Mr. Baxter.
Oh, Mr. Baxter, okay. Good job, Mr. Baxter. Well, Mr. Bogle does a good job, too. Anyway, you saw that it was a concern, and the neighborhood felt like it was an impact toward them, and they did have some complaints, and hopefully that'll be resolved. But always think about it as it's infill development. It really is, because today there's a residence there. Tomorrow it's going to be a commercial business with people coming out, in and out. So as you're thinking about your deliberations, I hope you'll take that into account. I appreciate all the work you guys are doing. Thank you so much.
Director Warwick, thank you very much on behalf of the commission, staff. Thank you. Do we have any other business, lady, gentlemen? If not, this meeting is adjourned.
Master.